The sky is painted in hues of orange and purple as the sun sets over Schiphol Airport. The control tower stands tall, overseeing the synchronized dance of incoming and outgoing flights. The airport is alive with motion, passengers boarding, baggage being loaded, ground crew preparing flights. Among them, El Al Flight 1862, a massive Boeing 747-200F, is preparing for departure. The aircraft, painted in LAL's iconic blue and white, gleams under the airport floodlights. Steam rises from the tarmac as the engines hum with raw power, ready for another transcontinental journey. This is a routine flight, Amsterdam to Tel Aviv, carrying cargo rather than passengers. Yet, in the minutes to come, this flight will enter aviation history for all the wrong reasons.
Int.
Cockpit, El Al 1862. The cockpit is calm, illuminated by the soft glow of digital screens and control panels. The crew, Captain Yitzhak Fuchs, 59, First Officer Ari Scherer, 32, and Flight Engineer Gady Shuham, 61, goes through the final pre-flight checklist.
Fuchs.
Steady voice. Engines? Shuham. Scanning all 4 engines operating within normal parameters.
Fuchs.
Fuel load? Scherer.
Confirmed.
Full capacity, distributed evenly.
Fuchs. Good.
Let's get this bird in the air. The radio crackles, and the control tower's voice comes through the headset. Tower VO. El Al 1862. Cleared for takeoff, runway 01L. Have a safe flight. Fuchs presses the radio button.
Fuchs.
Acknowledging. Cleared for takeoff, El Al 1862. EXT runway. Moments later. The Boeing 747 begins its slow roll onto the designated runway. Its 4 Pratt and Whitney engines roar as the throttle is gradually increased. The ground trembles as the aircraft surges forward, rapidly accelerating. The cockpit shakes slightly as the aircraft picks up speed. The world outside blurs. The runway lights streak past, and the control tower grows distant. Scherer. Eyes on the speed indicators. 80 knots.
Fuchs. Confirmed.
Scherer. V1. Rotate. Fuchs pulls back gently on the yoke. The nose of the 747 lifts, and the heavy aircraft defies gravity as its wheels leave the ground. EXT, sky above Schiphol Airport. El Al Flight 1862 ascends into the twilight, climbing steadily. Below, the runway lights shrink, and the airport fades into the vast Dutch landscape. Everything is routine. Everything is normal.
Int.
Cockpit, climbing to cruising altitude. The aircraft is now passing 6,000 feet, climbing smoothly. The city lights of Amsterdam twinkle below. Shuham. Announcing to crew. Climb rate steady. Speed is optimal.
Fuchs. Good.
Set course for Tel Aviv. Scherer adjusts the navigation controls. The autopilot is engaged. The hum of the engines fills the cabin. The crew relaxes slightly. Shuham. Smirking. Easy flights so far.
Fuchs.
Chuckling.
Let's keep it that way.
EXT, sky, El Al 1862 soaring. From the outside, the 747 looks majestic, silhouetted against the setting sun. It glides smoothly through the atmosphere, cutting through thin clouds, a mechanical marvel of engineering. The city of Amsterdam fades as the aircraft pushes forward. Suddenly,
bang!
A thunderous explosion erupts from the right wing. The entire aircraft shudders violently. EXT El Al 1862, Engine 3 detaching. One of the right side engines, Engine 3, is ripped from its pylon, trailing smoke and debris. The detached engine slams into Engine 4, causing a catastrophic failure. Engine 4 tears loose. 2 massive engines, essential for flight stability, are now gone. The right wing is severely compromised.
Int.
Cockpit, seconds after explosion. The cockpit jolts as warning alarms blare. Red lights flash across the control panel. The plane violently banks right, struggling to maintain altitude. Shuham. Shouting, scanning instruments. We've lost Engine 3. Another violent jolt. Scherer. Urgent, wide-eyed. Engine 4 is gone too.
Fuchs.
Grim into radio. Mayday. Mayday. Al 1862, declaring an emergency. Tower VO. Al 1862, state your situation.
Fuchs.
Steady but urgent. We have lost 2 engines, 3 and 4. We need immediate return to Schiphol. Tower VO.
Copy that.
Turn left and descend to 2,000 feet for approach. Fuchs attempts to turn left, but the plane resists. The lack of engines on the right side makes maneuvering nearly impossible. The aircraft is now in a gradual, uncontrolled roll.
Fuchs.
Gritted teeth, straining controls. It's not responding. Shuhum. Grim realization. We're losing hydraulic pressure. EXT sky over Amsterdam. Al 1862 descending. The aircraft dips dangerously, banking harder to the right. Smoke and debris trail behind it. The lights of Bijlmermeer, a densely populated residential area, are visible below.
Int.
Cockpit. Final attempts to regain control. The cockpit is a flurry of movement, hands gripping the yoke, flipping switches, scanning gauges. Tower VO. Al 1862. Do you copy?
Fuchs.
Struggling to maintain control. We are trying to stabilize. Sharer. Panicked but focused. We're too low. We need altitude.
Fuchs.
Into radio, softly. God help us. The XT Bijlmermeer apartment complex, night. The Boeing 747, now nearly perpendicular, spirals toward the apartment buildings below. A woman on a balcony, Sarah van der Veen, 45, looks up, frozen in horror.
Sarah.
Whispering, "No, no." Then, the massive Boeing 747-200F of El Al Flight 1862 struggles in midair, its right wing catastrophically compromised. The fiery remnants of engines 3 and 4 leave a thick trail of black smoke, spiraling into the sky. The aircraft tilts dangerously as it begins an uncontrolled descent over the city.
Int.
Cockpit, Al 1862. Chaos. Warning alarms blare from the cockpit panel. The instruments blink erratically, struggling to display the correct readings. Captain Yitzhak Fuchs, 59, grips the yoke tightly, his knuckles white. First Officer Ari Scherer, 32, frantically scans for solutions, while Flight Engineer Gady Shuham, 61, runs diagnostics on the failing systems. Shuham, shouting over the alarms, hydraulic pressure is dropping fast. Controls are sluggish. Fuchs, fighting to keep the aircraft level. We're banking too hard to the right. Can't maintain altitude. Scherer, straining. We have to turn left back to Schiphol before we lose complete control. Tower VO, Al 1862. Do you read? Your trajectory is unstable. Descend to 2,000 feet immediately. Fuchs, into radio, urgent, negative. We've lost 2 engines. The aircraft is not responding properly. We need priority landing clearance. EXT, sky over Amsterdam, descent. The aircraft lurches as Fuchs attempts to turn left, but the right wing continues to dip, the missing engines causing a catastrophic imbalance. The cityscape of Amsterdam looms below, approaching fast.
Int.
Cockpit, moments later. Shuham pounds the control panel, attempting to reroute power. The rudder pedals barely respond. The loss of hydraulic pressure has rendered many of the control surfaces useless. Shuham, panicked, we've lost most of our hydraulic systems. No rudder, no flaps. Fuchs grimly, we're in a free fall. Scherer, clutching radio. Mayday. Mayday. We're losing control. We need assistance. Tower, VO, Al 1862, attempt manual flight controls. Redirect to emergency protocol. EXT Bijlmermeer residential area, evening. Down below, residents of the Bijlmermeer neighborhood go about their evening, unaware of the impending disaster. Families sit for dinner, children play outside, and city lights flicker on as dusk settles over the skyline. A lone man walking his dog stops suddenly, hearing the faint, growing roar of an approaching aircraft. Looking up, his eyes widen in horror. Man with dog whispering, stunned. That plane is too low. The ominous shape of the crippled 747 cuts through the sky, tilting dangerously. Smoke and debris trail behind it. The sound of its engine struggling for power echoes through the city streets.
Int.
Cockpit. Final attempts. The aircraft shudders violently. Panels rattle. Loose equipment flies inside the cockpit. Fuchs grits his teeth, making a desperate attempt to stabilize the descent. Fuchs, to his crew, brace for impact. Schuhem grabs onto his seat tightly, while Scherer locks his harness. They know this is their final moment. EXT Bijlmermeer, moments from impact. A woman, Sarah van der Veen, 45, is watching television in her high-rise apartment. She sips her tea, glancing out the window, only to see a massive aircraft plummeting toward her building. She drops her tea. A deafening roar fills the night. EXT impact site, Bijlmermeer, seconds later. The LL-747 slams into the apartment complex, sending a massive fireball erupting into the sky. The structure collapses in an instant. Flames engulf the wreckage. Pieces of the aircraft scatter across the neighborhood, embedding themselves into buildings and streets.
Int.
Various apartments, chaos. People scream and scramble for safety as fire spreads rapidly. Smoke fills the air. Families rush to escape, some trapped under debris. A mother shields her child from falling rubble. EXT Bijlmermeer. First responders arrive. Fire trucks and ambulances race through the streets, sirens wailing. Firefighters jump out, grabbing hoses and axes, charging toward the inferno. Firefighter captain, into radio. We have a major aircraft down. Full structure collapse, fire spreading. Requesting all available units. Among the wreckage, a piece of the aircraft's fuselage burns, revealing the El Al insignia. The remnants of El Al Flight 1862 burn within the wreckage of the apartment complex. Flames rise high, illuminating the devastation with an eerie orange glow. Smoke chokes the sky, turning the air thick and unbreathable. The sounds of sirens wailing, people screaming, and buildings groaning under the weight of destruction fill the night.
Int.
Apartment complex, various units, night. Families trapped in their apartments cry out for help, struggling to navigate the thick smoke and rubble. A young boy, Noah, 8, clings to his mother, his face streaked with soot. The ceiling creaks ominously above them. Noah's mother, coughing, frantic, "Hold on, baby. Stay close." The building shudders again. More debris crashes down, forcing them to retreat deeper into the apartment. EXT crash site. First responders arriving. Firefighters and paramedics charge into the devastation, battling flames and searching for survivors. Captain Van Dijk, 50s, a seasoned firefighter, barks orders. Van Dijk, into radio, urgent. We need more hoses. Get those civilians out of there. A firefighter, Lieutenant Elias, 30s, helps a wounded man from the rubble. The man clutches his bleeding arm, dazed. Wounded man, it just came from nowhere. Elias, stay with me. Keep pressure on that wound.
Int.
Apartment complex, burning stairwell. A young woman, Maria, 20s, struggles to lift an elderly neighbor whose leg is trapped under debris. She calls out, coughing from the smoke. "MRA, help. Someone, please." A firefighter spots her and rushes up the unstable stairwell. "FIR here."
Hold on.
Suddenly, the stairwell collapses, sending Maria and the elderly woman tumbling to the lower floor. EXT street level, news crews arrive. News reporters set up cameras, capturing live footage of the destruction. Smoke billows behind them as journalist Annika Vermeer, 30s, speaks into the camera. Anikia, tragic night in Amsterdam as El Al Flight 1862 has crashed into a residential building. The death toll is rising, and emergency crews are struggling to contain the devastation. Behind her, residents watch in shock, some sobbing, others clutching one another for support.
Int.
Emergency Command Center, night. Dutch officials and aviation experts monitor the crisis, trying to piece together what happened. A large radar screen shows the final moments of Flight 1862. Investigator Carell, 50s. The aircraft lost both engines on one wing. Aviation, OFFR that would have made it almost impossible to control. They exchange grim looks, realizing the true scale of the disaster. EXT crash site. Hours later. The fire is finally under control. The once-standing apartment complex is now a smoldering ruin. First responders carry bodies out, covered in sheets. A firefighter kneels by the charred remains of the cockpit, the El Al logo barely visible. Nearby, a survivor sits on the ground, staring blankly into the distance.